Mo Zhongning and Li Weihai did not waste the momentary opportunity that Wu Shifang had won and had already placed a self-destructing soul beast on the head of the big factory Yanjin. The crab clung to his head tightly and then began to self-destruct. The master craftsman Yanjin had a cold face, and he casually blocked the incoming arrow with his right hand. Then he pulled the self-destructing soul beast off his head with his other hand, and then put it on the palm of his fat left hand and squeezed it hard. Puff! The self-destructing soul beast exploded. But it didn't explode completely. It was as powerful as TNT explosives. But at this time it was like a fart, making a dull sound. In the end, only a cloud of black smoke rose from the palm of the master craftsman Yan Jin. There was no expression of pain on his face, and he spread his palm very casually, with the fat palm flesh intact. With a mocking smile on his face, the master craftsman Yan Jin deliberately opened his hand to show Mo Zhongning and the others. "Is this your method? It's too weak. You dare to come and hunt us with only this level, aren't you going to die?" This terrifying power and defense made the three people stunned. How can they fight with the gap in absolute strength? At this moment, the ground beneath the feet of the great workshop Yanjin suddenly collapsed, and his huge body sank into it. A huge gray monster appeared in the soil. It was a super mole with blood-red eyes and more than 2 meters long. Jia Hetting from Huazhou City, an orc-type ability user with the ability code name Earth Walking Immortal. No matter how powerful you are, you can't use it without a foothold. Jia Hetting made a harsh and weird sound in the form of a mole. Then, while Dagonghui Yanjin was sinking to the ground, its sharp claws stabbed at Dagonghui Yanjin's body. The target was his most vulnerable part, the anus. Even a man with iron bones has a soft rectum, the director of the anorectal department of the African savannah. No matter who it is, this set of anorectal surgery will definitely not be able to withstand it. Although the method of digging out the anus is despised by people, in a battle of life and death, any way to kill the opponent is the best. This is also the first time that Dagonghui Yanjin felt the breath of danger, and his anus tightened suddenly. "Go to hell!" The giant mole let out a piercing cry, and its claws, which were as sharp as a saber, stabbed at the chrysanthemum of Dagonghui Yanjin. While his teammates were fighting in front, Jia Hetting was waiting for such a great opportunity. Seeing this scene, even the people in the combat command center couldn't help but stretch their necks, expecting Jia Hetting to succeed in one blow. But at this moment, a deafening roar broke out in the sunken cave. Dagonghui Yanjin finally used his ability, the mythical creature Chao Hu. The hot air gushed out from his limbs and directly rushed the giant mole that Jia Hetting had transformed into. A gust of hot wind rushed up from the cave, making Wu Shifang and others outside feel like they were burned by flames. A huge brown figure rushed up to the sky and then fell heavily to the ground. At this time, the great engineer Yan Jin had transformed into a tide tiger, holding a huge dragonfly cutter and showing his fangs to Wu Shifang and others. This time he was really angry. No one can stay calm after being almost anally dug out. Under the ground, Jia Hetting did not stop. He began to dig the ground frantically. "Heh heh heh! I'm underground! What can you do to me? As long as you give me a suitable opportunity, I will definitely pull your intestines out!" Dagong Yanjin's eyes were fixed on the ground. The next moment, he raised his right leg and stepped down hard. Now he was ready to kill them all. With his right foot as the center, the ground shattered like glass, and the soil deep in the earth began to explode, and the entire land was no longer intact. Jia Hetting, who was more than 10 meters underground, felt that the ground had become compacted, and tens of thousands of tons of soil were squeezed on him at once. "Ah!" He let out a wail. "Puff!" With a sound, blood gushed out of his mouth, and his internal organs seemed to be squeezed into a ball. Just more than 10 meters underground, he lost the ability to move. Although he has not died yet, he cannot maintain the transformed state for a long time. If no one comes to save him, he will die of serious injuries and lack of oxygen. Fortunately, at this time, Jia Hetting did not forget that the people at the headquarters were watching here. He used his last strength to send a distress message to the combat command center. "Headquarters, need support." After receiving the message, the staff in charge of his line immediately reported it to Zhang. Zhang frowned upon hearing the news, but he did not give any response. Because so far, no more useful intelligence has been obtained. They must ensure that the personnel sent by the Tianshan team can deal with the great factory Yanjin. What's more, behind him, there are 2 members of the Eclipse Moon who have never taken action from beginning to end. Tu Yunli spoke at this time. The task here is a bit difficult to complete. We must send enough investigation team members to solve it. Do you want to send Liao Honglei? Liao Honglei is the deputy captain of the Tianshan team, and his combat power is second only to Deng Shentong, and his ability is more suitable for dealing with the great factory Yanjin. Zhang shook his head slowly and firmly. Wait and see. There are still 2 people who haven't taken action. He noticed the existence of Kurosawa Akira and Sakuraba Yushi. The abilities of these 2 guys are to cooperate with the great factory Yanjin. If Liao Honglei faces them, he will not have an advantage in terms of ability. Zhang crossed his hands and supported his chin, looking at another battlefield with a cold look. We can't use the God Squad easily. We must ensure that we get enough intelligence. In the northern battlefield, the battle was carried out simultaneously. This is Zhuo Feiyu's team, and the opponents are Kamiya Nagaimichi and Akutsu Shinichiro. Kamiya and Akutsu are not as interested in one-on-many battles as the Great Workshop. They are real villains who like to enjoy the joy of killing their opponents. As long as they can win, they will use all means. So the moment they appeared on the battlefield, the battle had already begun. Kamiya Nagaimichi, an orc-type ability user, ability code Big Snake. He rushed out of the fog, his body twisted and deformed in mid-air, his head turned into a flat green snake head, his hands and feet gradually degenerated, and green scales covered his whole body. Finally, he turned into a giant snake that was 15 meters long. The snake roared and rushed towards the 5 people, its bloody mouth opened, and inside were layers of densely packed inverted teeth, which made people shudder. Once bitten, unless the body is torn apart, there is absolutely no way to escape from its mouth. This visual pressure has already made Zhuo Feiyu's team feel a huge trouble. The 5 people quickly dispersed to avoid being crushed to death by the big snake. The ground where the green snake passed left a terrifying gully. Zhuo Feiyu remained calm in the face of danger, calmly took out his tactical backpack, and then threw out dozens of black rifles from it. Each gunhead was equipped with a bayonet that flashed with a faint blue light. "Xia Lingling!" Zhuo Feiyu shouted at Xia Lingling. Xia Lingling frowned. "I know!" As soon as she stopped on the ground, she stomped her right foot on the ground and rushed towards the big snake that came back. She didn't look like a weak woman, but she didn't expect that the power she suddenly burst out was so strong. Facing the huge green snake, she cleverly dodged its attack from the air and came to the tail of the snake. She held the snake's tail with both hands and shouted, "Ah!" Then she actually swung the 15-meter-long monster up, turned it a few times on the spot, and threw it far away. Zhuo Feiyu raised his hands, and the 36 rifles were lined up in front of him and then stabbed at the snake like lightning. These are special weapons, quenched with the most deadly toxins. Just a slight scratch on the skin can kill an adult instantly. When the snake saw these flying guns, a playful look flashed in his eyes. This kind of crude weapon could not penetrate his hard scales at all. However, he was a little surprised by the terrifying power of the little girl. After landing, the tail quickly swung into the air, like a long whip sweeping across the flying guns. However, Zhuo Feiyu's eyes were fixed on him. When the big snake's tail was pulled out, his fingers just circled gracefully in the air, and the flying guns circled in the air and avoided the big snake's whip. Telekinesis? Interesting. The big snake made a dull sound, and 36 gun blades were already aimed at its head. Bang! Bang! The continuous sound of gunfire rang out, and dense bullets shot at the big snake. "It doesn't hurt," the big snake said sarcastically. Zhuo Feiyu frowned. The bullet used was the origin bullet distributed by the headquarters, which has a good restraining effect on mutants. But the surface of the big snake is scale armor, which is not affected by the origin bullet. But just when the big snake was proud, its pupils suddenly felt a gust of wind. Swish! A large armor-piercing bullet shot at its eyeball. Although there was a thick protective film on the eyes, it still made the snake's eyes blurry. "Who is it?" The snake looked angrily in the direction where the bullet came from and looked far away. Only then did he see that in the distant direction, a cunning sniper was aiming at him with a sniper. Ordinary sniper rifles certainly can't hurt the snake, but the veteran Yu Zhengyang's ability can strengthen the weapon and make it more powerful, just like his ability name, Weapon Master. While the snake was fighting fiercely, Akutsu Shinichiro, who was hidden in the mist, seized the opportunity and aimed at Yuan Hao, who looked the weakest among the few people. He held a metal baseball bat with a ferocious smile on his face and swung it at Yuan Hao's head. When Yuan Hao found Akutsu's attack, he was so scared that his face turned pale. He covered his chest and shouted, "Ling Ling!" The next moment, Jia Lingling, who was still fighting with the snake, appeared in front of Yuan Hao at a weird speed. Bang! Akutsu's metal bat hit her arm, making a dull sound. Akutsu was a little surprised. He knew very well how powerful the bat was. However, it did not smash the woman's arm and body to pieces. Jia Lingling stared at him, her eyes filled with endless murderous intent. "How dare you attack my husband? Do you want to die?" Jia Lingling blocked Akutsu Shinichiro's metal baseball bat with just her body. Akutsu was surprised. Even among the enhanced mutants, there are people who fight with their bodies and can use weapons to some extent. "What an arrogant little girl!" Akutsu laughed, and the power in his hand began to increase. He used the metal baseball bat without any rules and smashed it violently. As a gangster, he only relied on two things to fight, that is, experience and momentum. Although he was a street fighter, he could use any tricks, so he was also an expert in actual combat. Jia Lingling snorted coldly and jumped lightly on the ground. Her butterfly steps were very exquisite, and her punching speed was also very fast. Akutsu understood it in his heart. Yuan Hao was undoubtedly an auxiliary mutant. His encouragement from behind gave Jia Lingling a boost of strength. "Kill the auxiliary first!" Akutsu was about to pass Jia Lingling and attack Yuan Hao behind her first. However, Jia Lingling was staring at him intently, and of course she would not give him such an opportunity. "Don't even think about it! Anyone who dares to touch my husband must die!" Jia Lingling's pupils burst into a strange red light, blocking Akutsu's path like lightning. Her speed was so fast that Akutsu could not break through at all. "Tisk! What a troublesome woman!" Akutsu looked disgusted. "Well then, I'll kill you first."